Now, Samkele, let's start to talk about, of course, one of the key people that has been spoken about here has been Magashule's former personal assistant, Murwadi Cholota. And of course, we know that there's also reports suggesting that efforts to try and get her back into the country are also underway. Do we know if she's coming back as state witness or as an accused person?
What we do know, Wongiwe, is that the state is making all necessary processes to get Cholota back into the country, the former personal assistant of the former chairperson and former premier of the Free State province, Samkele Maseko. And the testimony and the affidavits that were presented in court earlier on today and yesterday, you did hear Advocate Laurence Hodes, who is leading the advocate team of Samkele Maseko, in their heads of arguments, saying that it was clear that in the beginning there was some sort of arrangement and agreement between the NPA and Cholota when it comes to the testimony, and Cholota pinning down an affidavit in support of the state's case and revealing some of the things that were going on in the office of Ace Magashule, was still the premier of the province. But later on, after a team of investigators was sent by the NPA, by the police rather, and the state to go to the United States of America to have an engagement with Cholota, no affidavit was forthcoming, and it was clear that there was a breakdown in relation between Cholota and the state and the National Prosecuting Authority. They go further to say that they never even communicated with the defense team of Ace Magashule to say they can now proceed and engage with Cholota, knowing that there is no agreement between the state and Cholota to be the state's witness in this corruption fraud case of amounting to 255 million rands, which was allegedly siphoned out of the coffers of the residents of the Free State province.
Now, Samkele, one of the things that we see, unfolding here is a recurring theme that these charges are politically motivated. We saw Advocate Hodes as well canvassing this particular argument as part of his, reasoning and arguments put before the court for this matter to then be withdrawn against his client. I wonder, what is he basing this argument on?
They are based on this argument that it is rather suspicious that the timing of Ace Magashule's arrest and the state not finishing their investigations and also not finishing Magashule with an opportunity to respond to the allegations that he was facing before he was charged by the state smirked of a political interference and a conspiracy theory to ensure that Ace Magashule is removed from his position as the Secretary-General of the ANC in order for his attention to be diverted to these cases as opposed to being focused in the internal imaginations which were ongoing within the governing party and the differences that were there. They maintain, and the Advocate Hodes maintains, the same line that Ace Magashule and the likes of Dakota Lekhwete, ANC, NEC member and NWC member, who have been here in court in saying that this is a politically motivated case. But it also smirks of the same remnants of what former President Jacob Zuma says in his own cases, that they are politically motivated and there is no substance to the allegations that they are facing, and that these cases are just politically driven in order to drive them out of the African National Congress. Ace Magashule speaking to us media practitioners outside here, saying that he will not be distracted and nobody will remove him from the African National Congress, but it smirks of the same strategy that is employed by his political ally in the form of former President Jacob Zuma. But in many instances, we've seen many ANC politicians, when it is difficult, when they are faced with charges, they always run for the conspiracy of politics being meddled in them being charged.
Now, Samkele, the state is arguing, though, while they are, of course, putting forward these arguments inside and outside court, the state is arguing that they simply didn't read the affidavits, and Magashule has a case to answer to here.
The state is very clear that Ace Magashule, particularly when you look at Senior Counsel Cassim, he is saying that Mr. Ace Magashule benefited directly or indirectly when it came to the proceeds of the asbestos monies that were either channeled to him or to the beneficiaries that he wanted them to be channeled to. There were allegations that there are emails that the state is in possession of, which showed the various emails that were sent out by Cholota to the various people whom were benefactors of this contract in order for them to transfer monies to these individuals, and that individuals who are associates of Ace Magashule when it comes to the asbestos case, and some who are allegedly associates of the Gupta empire that was allegedly soliciting and taking out funds fraudulently from the Republic of South Africa and from the Free State province.
All right, and Samkele, of course, judgment has been reserved. I wonder what are his, how is he, feeling about this? Because one of the things that was very clear yesterday when he was asked about the fact that should he not be successful in having the charges withdrawn, he is going to then take legal counsel and see how to map a way forward. I wonder what was their reaction then to judgment being reserved?
He was anticipating that judgment will definitely be reserved today and that judgment would not be delivered. He was fine with that particular perspective. He is saying that he's now eagerly waiting for the judgment on this issue, and that if the charges are upheld and they are not thrown out, he's willing to go to court and clear his name, but also he will listen to his team of lawyers and advocates, and they will advise him on the next step forward. He did not say whether he would appeal this particular judgment or not, as we've seen with former President Jacob Zuma when he wanted a permanent stay of prosecution and for the recusal of Advocate Willie Downer in his own case. But it does seemingly look like former president, the suspended Secretary-General of the ANC, Ace Magashule, is employing the same tactic as former President Jacob Zuma. But Bongiwe, another critical point which many people have missed is that Ace Magashule's appeal, for him to be reinstated and for the step-aside resolution of the ANC to be set aside, was dismissed by the Supreme Court of Appeals. It's not yet clear whether he's going to the Constitutional Court on that or not. But the only other way he could return to his position as Secretary-General of the ANC and for his suspension to be lifted is if this case of corruption, fraud, money laundering and racketeering here at the Bloemfontein High Court is thrown out. So there may be a political reason to him coming to this court and wanting these charges to be thrown out and there to be a permanent stay of prosecution, and him alleging that with his legal team that the state procedurally was flawed in his arrest as they were not done with their investigation. So if this case is thrown out, he automatically goes back to Luthuli House, the 6th floor, as the Secretary-General of the ANC, knowing very well that the step-aside case led by Advocate Dalimpofu is not going the way he anticipated to go at the Supreme Court of Appeals here in Bloemfontein. Not yet clear whether he will go to the Constitutional Court on that matter. If it does not, he will be heavily reliant on this case here being thrown out in order for him to go back to Luthuli House as the SG of the African National Congress.
And of course, all of this, Samkele, is not to be read outside of the context of that, elective conference that the party is inching towards in December. But we'll leave it there for now. That's SABC News senior political reporter Samkele Maseko.